our guest today has spoken openly in the past about dealing with grief after her husband, the Wanted star Tom Parker, died from an inoperable brain tumour over 3 years ago. And earlier this year, Kelsey Parker sadly announced the devastating loss of her son, Phoenix, with new partner Will, just 1 week before her due date. Despite her heartbreaking experiences, she joins us today to tell how sharing her story has helped her. Welcome back to the show, Kelsey.
Thanks for having me.
Now, as I just said there, you know, you've been on before talking about the loss of Tom, and now we're going to be talking about the loss of Phoenix. This is such a sensitive subject that I want you to be comfortable with what you want to say about it. So tell us the story.
Yeah, so I lost Phoenix. He was born at 39 weeks, and yeah, it's really hard because we say, obviously, with babies, that they were born sleeping. But obviously with the kids, we've had to make it really clear, and obviously he was born dead. And it's just so tough because I think people look at me and think, hasn't that poor girl been through enough? But I'm here again and I'm dealing with grief for the second time. And obviously this grief, this time, is so different for me.
How? Tell us how, what ways?
I just think with losing a baby, losing my son, it just hit me. And I always said, like, when I lost Tom, I had that fight for Tom and was like, I'm going to get out and I'm going to work and I'm going to do this. But with Phoenix, it just absolutely blindsided me. And I guess with Tom, you know, who's diagnosed with cancer, we had 18 months of fighting, whereas this was just like...
Mm. Did you know before the birth that something had gone wrong? Oh.
No. What a shock. I mean, and you said that people think, you know, this poor woman, she's had more than her fair share, which absolutely I think we'd all concur with. Do you feel that? Do you feel like a sort of rage against the universe? You know, that's enough already.
I think wherever I've found spirituality, I think that really has put me on a path, and maybe it makes me think, why have I been sent this? Maybe there's a bigger purpose why I've been sent this. To help others, to talk about grief. We, as a nation, are terrible at talking about grief, and I'm back and I'm talking about baby loss this time. I've lost my husband, I've now lost the baby.
And I think, Kelsey, I went through a similar thing to you. I also lost a baby very late in pregnancy and had a stillbirth, so I know exactly what you went through. And I also lost my father a couple of years before to cancer, so I really relate to what you're saying about grief being so different when it's about different things, even though it's loss, it feels... It's a grief that is unexplainable. It's so visceral and physically painful.
Yeah, it's the physical as well, and especially carrying the baby.
Yes.
Your body's been growing a baby, and then to lose the baby and then have to go out and not have the baby with you, and the hormones and everything. You say, even with Tom, I wouldn't wish this upon my worst enemy. This is just awful. It's just absolutely horrendous, harrowing, and...
But I think you talking about it, I can't tell you, like, at the time when I lost my baby, miscarriage wasn't really something that we talked about a lot. And I just remember at the time, my mum kind of stepping in and being a real mama bear to me and wanting to protect me from the pain I was going through. And, you know, I was dealing with lots of questions that I hadn't even come to terms with, like, you know, did you have a name for your baby? How would you like to remember your... You know, all of these things. And in that moment, in that point of time, it was so not discussed that my mum and myself both kind of shut down, and we treated it as a miscarriage and not how you're treating it, which is a very different way. And I think if I had seen someone like yourself, or even like Mylene and other, you know, women in the public eye that are talking so openly and so bravely about this, I think I would have probably dealt with it a lot different. And I think just talking about it and having these conversations is just so important, because you feel like you're the only one it's happening to, because it wasn't discussed.
No, but you don't really have a choice either, you know, do you? I mean, as you say, you know, lots of women have miscarriages, and we should definitely talk some more about that. But in your instance, you know, most women cover them up, don't talk about them, go back to work. But, you know, the world knew you were pregnant.
The world knew I was pregnant. You know, I couldn't hide this. If I could, I maybe would have and given myself a bit more time. But it was like I was carrying a baby. The baby's been born dead, and now how do I tell? I've got to tell the world, because I turn up at the school gates and they'll go, "Oh,
And
where's
also,
the baby?" And I'm like,
your children, so Aurelia and Bodhi, what, aged 5 and 4, I think? How did you address it with them?
this time has been really tough because Aurelia's 6, and I wasn't giving her the right answer to what she wanted. I said, Phoenix has died and Phoenix is with Daddy now, and she was like, I hate Dad. Why does Dad keep taking everyone? So that wasn't the right answer. So again, you're trying to find out for your children what's the right way to navigate this. And I think with my little Bodhi, he's been through so much. I was 35 weeks pregnant when Tom was diagnosed. He was only 18 months when Tom died. I'm his hero. So as long as I'm okay, he's okay. But with Aurelia, she's
so difficult.
beyond her years.
I really like how you're approaching this, though, because obviously, you know, it's horrific what both of us have been through, but you found real spirituality in your grief process. And I've read something that you think that Tom is up there looking after your baby and your partner is down here looking after your children. And I just think that is just such a beautiful way to look at it. So do you hold that as something that helps you get through this?
That chokes me every time, because that, you know, Will's here looking after Tom's children, and Tom's now got Phoenix, and he was always going to be my little Phoenix, and I know that Tom will be looking after him, but it's just heartbreaking.
It's incredible how you're finding positivity in something that is so... I mean, it's every parent's nightmare, and you're being so courageous talking about it with us. And I even, as somebody who hasn't gone through what you've gone through, I'm just finding this sort of inspiration behind the way you're talking about it. Do you feel like it's because of Will, you and Will together going through this, because you've got a partner to maybe help you go through this grief this time?
Grieving this time has been so different because I have had Will there, and I've been able to have them cuddles in bed.
And he's going through it as
He's
well.
going through the same experience, but when I lost Tom, I was on my own and there was only so much my family could do. But I've now got Will, and he's been there for me, and we're living this together, and it's actually been... you know, as experiences go, it's like I'm getting to do this with someone now. I'm not on my own, just trying to pick up the pieces for my children. And with the kids, they are going to be the most resilient adults because they have lived the worst. They've lost people. They've lost their dad. They've lost their brother. They are going to be resilient, and we need to be resilient. And maybe that's what I am. It's resilient and positive because that's all what I can be.
What's the choice?
Otherwise, I would be angry with everything that happens. But we are all going to die.
We were talking earlier, actually, just about opening up the conversation on menopause, because there were quite funny jokes on TikTok about it. But miscarriage is also something that I think that women have really only started to feel comfortable talking about, and actually has been recognised now. You know, lots of companies now give you grief absence and things. But it was definitely, you know, I had a miscarriage before I had my kids. And, you know, you have the miscarriage, you kind of dust yourself off. I sobbed for an hour and then I went back to work, you know. Do you think it's really important that it's being recognised as a bereavement? I mean, in your case, it was very extreme, obviously, because you carried Phoenix to term. But even if you've carried a baby, I mean, mine was, 10 weeks old? But I had a name, I had a personality.
And that is the same for me. We had the name the whole way through. Phoenix was always going to be Phoenix. I didn't know I was having a boy or a girl. Phoenix was always going to be Phoenix. But I think absolutely, because hormones, the hormones with this loss are just all over the place. You're crying, just anything. And obviously, my milk came in. I'm going through that. Then I'm trying to take the kids to school. I just felt like, again, I was juggling all the plates. But I absolutely, I think, you know, we need the time off, and you need that moment for you. And I've listened to myself this time. I did rush back into work when Tom passed, but I've listened to myself, and I'm actually proud that I took some time off to sit with this.
Well, Kelsey, I have to say you're incredibly strong, and it's amazing that you're sitting here and sharing your story, because it will help other people, and we just want to thank you very much for coming in. And if you at home have been affected by anything that we've talked about, support is available. Please head to our website, itv.com/helplines.